my girlfriend of 3 years, Lin Yu, climbed into bed with our company CEO during our engagement banquet. When I found her, she was sitting in a BMW, smiling sweetly at that greasy middle-aged man. The moment she saw me approach, her smile vanished, replaced by a look of utter contempt. Zhengbin, did you really think someone as poor as you could ever deserve me? You're not even worth one of Chairman Wang's toenails. After saying this, she wrapped her arm around President Wang's, looking utterly intimate. I clenched the gift box in my hand tightly. Inside was the engagement gift I had prepared for Lin Yu. It was the key to a Panamera. 1. Bin, where's your fiancée? Why hasn't she arrived yet? My good buddy patted my shoulder and teased. Hey, it's not that you think your fiancée is too pretty to show her off to us, is it? Don't be so stingy. Watching my brother's cheerful faces, I couldn't help but smile bitterly inside. How could they know it wasn't that I didn't want Lin Yu to come out? It was simply that I couldn't reach her at all, but I couldn't say it, because no one would believe the female lead would be absent without reason on such an important day as the engagement party. So I could only force a hollow laugh before slipping away to frantically call my fiancée Lin Yu. We've been in love for 3 full years. Though I hadn't amounted to much before and couldn't give Lin Yu the wealthy life she desired, we'd managed to stumble through those years together. What's more, fortunes change like the shifting riverbanks. I wasn't that poor boy anymore. Fingering the gift box for Lin Yu in my pocket, I desperately hoped she was just delayed by some matter. But whether it was early this morning or now, I've called Lin Yu's phone countless times, yet there's still no response. Sorry, the number you dialed is powered off. The busy tone from the other end of the line made my heart sink gradually. I walked back in a daze, my mind completely elsewhere. Seeing my expression, the brothers quickly caught on and came forward to ask, Bin, what's going on? Where's your fiancé? Did something come up? Bin, why is it just us guys today? Even though an engagement party is a small affair, how come none of her family or friends showed up? Bin, are you sure the engagement party is today? You didn't get the date wrong, did you? Their noisy concern brought me back to my senses slightly, and I gave them a helpless smile. Sorry, guys. Lin Yu had something come up suddenly. She just called and said we'll have to reschedule the engagement party. One straightforward buddy couldn't hide his displeasure with Lin Yu's behavior and blurted out, what the hell? How can sis-in-law pull this kind of stunt? Isn't she just messing with people? Why didn't she say so earlier? How can you just casually reschedule something as important as an engagement party? Seeing my dark expression, someone nudged him. Shut your trap, will you? Then he walked over and patted me on the shoulder, comforting me. Xiaobin, it's all right. We all understand. Sometimes things come up unexpectedly. That's just human nature. Just call us again when you're ready. I gave him a grateful look and took the offered way out, clasping my hands together in apology toward the brothers who had come to help. Guys, I'm really sorry about today. I'll definitely treat you all to drinks another time. Seeing me speak like this, it was clear to everyone that the engagement party was definitely not happening. So they all said a few kind words before leaving. As I watched everyone leave one after another, I gathered my belongings in a daze and walked out. To my surprise, the moment I stepped out of the hotel entrance, I saw a luxurious BMW parked ostentatiously right at the door. The car window slowly rolled down, revealing a strikingly beautiful face. It was none other than Lin Yu, who had been absent from the engagement party. 2. Lin Yu, you. Before I could finish my sentence, I heard Lin Yu chuckle from inside the car. Well, if it isn't Zhengbin, what are you doing here? I was completely dumbfounded. Just yesterday, Lin Yu was nestled in my arms, eagerly discussing the arrangements for our engagement banquet with me. How could everything change so drastically in just one day? As if to answer my unspoken question, the car windows rolled down completely, revealing the man seated in the driver's seat. It was none other than President Wang from our company. Seeing me staring at him wide-eyed in shock, President Wang let out a hearty laugh. He raised his arm adorned with an expensive wristwatch and casually draped it around Lin Yu's shoulders. Xiaobin, what a coincidence. I brought Xiao Yu here for dinner. Care to join us? My mind went blank at the sight before me, at a loss for words. I could only stammer. You too. Lin Yu responded with a charming smile, casting a bashful glance at Director Wang. Zhengbin, let me introduce you. This is my new boyfriend. At this moment, the last string in my heart snapped completely, and the final hidden sliver of hope in my heart was utterly extinguished. Now, no matter how unwilling I was to face the reality that Lin Yu had cheated on me, there was no escaping it. But why? Of all days, did she have to choose our engagement banquet to deliver this soul-shattering news? My blood boiled as I pressed myself against the car window, glaring fiercely at Lin Yu. Why? Why would you do this? To my surprise, Lin Yu showed no fear. Instead, she wriggled out of the man's embrace and leaned toward me, her red lips parting. Zhengbin, I followed you for 3 years. 3 whole years of hardship. You're not even worth one of President Wang's toes. Marry me, in your dreams. Her tone dripped with mockery. My pupils contracted sharply as I involuntarily let go of her hand. Never in my wildest dreams could I have imagined that Lin Yu, who once smiled and said she loved me and was willing to share life's hardships, would become like this. I clenched the gift box in my pocket once more. We were supposed to start living our happy life together soon. But as I looked at Lin Yu's mocking face at this moment, I opened my mouth, yet found myself utterly speechless, seeing me in such a wretched and disheveled state. Lin Yu turned her face away in disgust and once again linked arms with Director Wong. Director Wong lowered his head to plant a kiss on the person in his embrace, then raised his head to look at my bloodshot eyes with undisguised triumph. Young man, it's better to face reality. Compared to me, you're nothing. Furious, I finally managed to choke out a sentence. Lin Yu, you'll regret this. To my surprise, Lin Yu burst into laughter, as if she'd just heard the funniest joke. Zheng Bin, the only thing I regret is wasting 3 years of my youth on you. If it weren't for you, I could have been living the good life long ago. Let me make this clear. I'll never regret this. Seeing Lin Yu's anger, Mr. Wong quickly interjected. Shall you? Someone like him isn't worth your anger. Come on, Big Brother will take you somewhere nice. Let's not eat here. It's bad luck. With that, she spat at me, started the car, and sped away, leaving behind a foul cloud of exhaust fumes. I finally took out that box. Inside was the key to a Panamera, the engagement gift I'd prepared for Lin Yu, though now it seemed it would never reach her hands. I calmed my emotions and smiled faintly as I watched them walk away. Lin Yu, I wonder what you'd think if you knew I'd just been reclaimed by the wealthiest family not long ago. I suppose someone as proud as you would never regret it, right? 3. Young master, why did you come in person? The manager, upon receiving the news, rushed over personally without delay and fawned over me with great enthusiasm. I waved my hand dismissively and casually took a seat on the nearby sofa. No need for all this. I'm just browsing casually. You can attend to your own business. Hearing this, the manager let out a long sigh of relief, wiped the sweat from his temples, instructed a salesperson to bring me a cup of fine tea. And only after giving careful instructions did he finally leave. I sat calmly while watching the manager scurry about nervously. Ever since I returned to the Zheng family, the wealthiest clan, I've grown accustomed to people either being overly respectful or fawning over me in my presence. But truth be told, I wasn't here for inspection this time. Although I resigned from Director Wong's company immediately after Lin Yu cheated on me, I'd left people behind to monitor their every move. Just now, I received word that Director Wong was planning to accompany Lin Yu to purchase some jewelry. The largest jewelry mall in the city is my family's business. How could I not come and join the fun? Sure enough, it wasn't long before Lin Yu walked in arm with the pot-bellied President Wong. But the pairing looked more like a daughter dutifully attending to her father than an affectionate couple. The salesperson seemed to think so too, as she greeted the two with a knowing smile. Welcome, sir. Are you looking to purchase jewelry for your daughter? We just received some new arrivals in our store. Before the salesperson could finish speaking, I noticed Mr. Wong's face had already darkened, and Lin Yu beside him looked equally displeased. Ahem, this is my girlfriend. As the salesperson continued their enthusiastic pitch, Mr. Wong couldn't help but cough twice to remind them. The salesperson finally realized their mistake and kept bowing in apology. Before Lin Yu and President Wong could speak, they heard a contemptuous laugh from the side. Oh my, this is hilarious. Actually, you can't blame them for mistaking it. Even I thought it looked like a father buying a gift for his daughter. I stood up from the sofa with a smile and walked over. They hadn't noticed me earlier, but now it was impossible for Lin Yu and Director Wong to ignore my presence. Seeing me emerge, their expressions grew even more unpleasant. What are you doing here? Don't think your pathetic clinging will make me take you back. Lin Yu spoke first, radiating confidence from some inexplicable source. She held her head high, looking at me with utter disdain. I couldn't be bothered to indulge her nonsense either, firing back immediately. Well, looks like Miss Lin's been eating well these past few days. Your face has swollen several sizes. Lin Yu paled, about to retort when President Wong stopped her. President Wong merely smiled faintly, addressing the salesperson instead. Has this place's standard dropped so low? You even let losers like this in. Aren't you worried it'll ruin the store's image? The salesperson glanced at my expression and was about to say something when I stopped him. I straightened my custom-tailored suit and stared directly at President Wong. Exactly. Letting someone like this in is simply lowering the standards. Why haven't you had him escorted out yet? President Wong looked quite pleased at this. Right? Clear the place immediately. I want it properly. Halfway through speaking, he seemed to realize something and looked over in surprise. What did you say? But before he could figure it out, the salesperson stiffly extended a hand toward him and Lin Yu, making a, please, gesture. Sir, miss, I must ask you both to leave. Mr. Wong's eyes widened in shock, while Lin Yu shrieked. What did you just say? How dare a mere salesperson like you tell us to leave? Mr. Wong panted with rage. Call your manager. I want to file a complaint against you. Unexpectedly, the salesperson merely smiled faintly at their threats and maintained the same polite gesture, saying, even if our manager were here, it wouldn't make a difference. Please leave promptly. We don't welcome guests like you. Though the tone was polite, It was undeniably cold, making it clear they were unwelcome. This enraged the always pampered and high and mighty President Wong, who pulled a black card from his bag and threw it at the salesperson's face with a sharp smack. Open your damn eyes and see what this is. I'm a black gold member of this mall. The salesperson slightly widened their eyes at the black card on the floor, looking somewhat surprised. President Wong, who had initially felt somewhat guilty, secretly breathed a sigh of relief in his heart upon seeing the salesperson's expression. After all, as the owner of a small company, it was impossible for him to have this mall's black card. He had prepared this fake card just to show off. Fortunately, the salesperson in front of him was clueless. Confident in this, Boss Wong puffed out his chest again. Hurry up and kick this eyesore of a loser out. Also, your store better give me a 20% discount today, or I'll complain to the mall management and see how long you can stay in business. Seeing how confident President Wong sounded, Lin Yu, who had been silent earlier, also gained courage. Did you hear that? Zheng Bin, I suggest you leave on your own. Wouldn't it be embarrassing to be thrown out? I clearly saw the mockery and scorn in Lin Yu's eyes as she looked at me, but I couldn't be bothered to respond. Instead, I slowly crouched down to pick up that card. Since President Wong is so impressive, why not buy her a few more pieces of jewelry to let a loser like me see what real luxury looks like? Hearing the key point, Lin Yu immediately turned to President Wong with eager anticipation. Mr. Wong's expression changed, but before he could think of a way to refuse, the salesperson had already swiftly placed several pieces of jewelry in front of them. Sir, to match your black gold membership status, I've specially selected a few of our store's most treasured pieces for you. Which one do you prefer? Since Mr. Wong is so impressive, why not buy her a few more pieces of jewelry to let a loser like me broaden my horizons? Hearing the key point, Lin Yu immediately looked at Mr. Wong with eager anticipation. Mr. Wong's expression changed, but before he could think of a way to refuse, the salesperson had already swiftly placed several pieces of jewelry in front of them. Sir, to match your black gold membership status, I've specially selected some of our store's most treasured pieces for you. May I ask which one you prefer? From Mr. Wong's face darkened, but Lin Yu's attention was completely captivated by the glittering jewels. Her eyes filled with joy and greed. She couldn't resist reaching out to grab the jewelry on the tray. But as the salesperson nimbly dodged, Lin Yu not only failed her attempt but also stumbled awkwardly. To spare her further embarrassment, I simply stuck out my foot to help her, ensuring she landed flat on the ground with stability. The other staff members couldn't help but chuckle at the sight, yet not a single one stepped forward to help her up. Manager Wong looked at Lin Yu lying inelegantly on the floor, his eyes flashing with undisguised displeasure. But Lin Yu was still lying on the ground, crying out in pain without understanding what had happened. I clearly saw President Wong frown deeply, then reluctantly help Lin Yu up. The moment Lin Yu was pulled to her feet, she couldn't help opening her mouth to curse. But before any sound came out, a glove was smacked across her face. The shop assistant steadied herself, looking apologetically at Lin Yu. I'm so sorry, ma'am. The floor was too slippery. I lost my balance for a moment. Lin Yu froze for a second before peeling the glove off her face and throwing it back, her expression dark as a burnt pot. How incompetent are you people? Being so careless. Call your manager right now. I want to file a complaint. The salesperson smiled and said to Lin Yu, Miss, our manager isn't in today. Please don't make things difficult for us. Besides, you know how slippery the floor is, don't you? Lin Yu was about to say something more, but my soft chuckle cut her off. Huh? President Wong, could it be that you can't afford it? Is that why she's making such a fuss to stall until closing time? Lin Yu flew into a rage upon hearing this. Who do you think you are? Since when do you have the right to speak here? But I ignored her completely, instead fixing President Wong with a provocative stare. Mr. Wong's eyelid twitched, but a man's pride was at stake, especially in front of me. Even if he couldn't afford it, he'd rather keep up appearances than admit defeat. So he snapped at Lin Yu. Shall you? Stop making a scene. Let's pick out some jewelry first and show this country bumpkin what real class looks like. Lin Yu immediately stopped her tantrum and smugly lifted her chin at me, oozing arrogance. But the next moment, she embarrassed herself all over again. She reached out to touch the jewelry directly, but was immediately stopped by the salesperson, who then handed her the gloves that had just been thrown in Lin Yu's face. Miss, please put on the gloves first. Lin Yu was displeased. What filthy things. Take them away. I won't wear them. The salesperson didn't comply with her request, but instead repeated. Miss, these are all precious items. Please wear gloves before touching them. Otherwise we'll have trouble cleaning them if they get dirty. Lin Yu grew even angrier. What do you mean? Are you saying I'm dirty? Hearing this, I burst out laughing and nodded vigorously. Lin Yu's face darkened even more. The salesperson politely shook their head. That's not what I meant. It's just the rules here. So please. Before the salesperson could finish speaking, Lin Yu boldly reached out to touch the items. It's just some stupid jewelry. What's the big deal? You think we can't afford it? A faint glimmer of amusement flashed in the salesperson's eyes, though their face still feigned anxious concern. Miss, be careful with that. It's top-tier jewelry. If it falls. But the next second, the sound of shattering jewelry rang out clearly. Lin Yu had intended to try on the necklace in front of the mirror. But whether it was the floor being too slippery or her anger clouding her judgment, she lost her footing as she stumbled again while walking. I saw her falling toward me and quickly dodged to the side. This time, Lin Yu fell hard to the ground once again. The 8-figure jewelry shattered into pieces as it hit the floor. Staring at the scattered fragments of jewelry beside her, Lin Yu froze momentarily before quickly scrambling to her feet and rushing over to President Wang. No, this wasn't my fault at all. The salesperson's face darkened as he crouched down to reluctantly pick up the larger fragments, presenting them before Lin Yu and President Wang. Sir, miss, how do you plan to handle this? Before they could respond, I couldn't help but mock them. Listen to what you're saying. It's just some broken jewelry. They're Black Gold members after all. You really think they can't afford to pay? The salesperson suddenly understood and couldn't help agreeing. This gentleman is absolutely right. It was my mistake for not recognizing their status. Then she turned to Mr. Wang with a sycophantic smile. How would you like to pay? Sir, QR code or card? Lin Yu screamed in disbelief as she watched us effortlessly settle the matter. What do you mean, how to pay? This has nothing to do with us. You clearly did this on purpose, making the floor so slippery. And you, she pointed accusingly at me. You deliberately didn't catch me. You're all in cahoots trying to scam us. Well, I'm telling you, it won't work. With that, she tried to drag Mr. Wang toward the exit, but there was no chance of that the moment they turned around. Security guards blocked their path. I clapped my hands with a smile. So this is what they call a Black Gold member. You think you can just break someone's property and walk away like nothing happened? Mr. Wang still cared about saving face. He shot Lin Yu a fierce glare before turning back. Name your price. How much? The salesperson maintained a standard smile and said softly, it's not expensive, just 80 million. How much? Why don't you just rob me? How could a stupid necklace possibly be this expensive? Lin Yu screamed again. The shrill sound made my ears ache, and I couldn't help but say, didn't you hear? This is their store's treasure. But since your companion here is a Black Gold member, this amount is just pocket change for them. Lin Yu suddenly remembered her sugar daddy and turned to look at him. All she saw was Director Wang's face, dark as the bottom of a pot. Lin Yu's heart skipped a beat. She opened her mouth, but couldn't speak. Seeing these two had no intention of compensating. I decided to play the Good Samaritan, so I stepped forward and, while Mr. Wang wasn't paying attention, pulled out that black card and handed it to the salesperson. I remember this mall's black card has a deposit requirement, at least 9 figures. Here, go ahead and swipe it. The salesperson caught my hint and hastily took the black card, rushing toward the card reader. The transaction was completed swiftly. By the time Mr. Wang realized what was happening and tried to intervene, it was already too late. The card reader emitted a crisp mechanical voice. Specifications do not match. Specifications do not match. The crowd erupted in murmurs. President Wang's face flushed with embarrassment as he rushed over and snatched the card back. He cursed angrily. What kind of broken machine is this? Can't even recognize a black card. The salesperson smiled and gently explained. Sir, all our machines here are uniformly configured by the mall. There couldn't possibly be any mistake. Though it was a standard polite smile. To Mr. Wang it seemed unbearably offensive. He flew into a rage. Nonsense. This is definitely your black card. Either your machine is malfunctioning, or you people broke it. Yes, it must be you meddling with it. Mr. Wang then tried to grab me, attempting to make me take the blame for him. I nimbly dodged, causing Director Wang to stumble forward. Thankfully, Lin Yu grabbed him. Otherwise, he would have had an intimate encounter with the floor too. I waved my hand with a helpless expression. How about this? Let's go get it authenticated. I remember these black cards are registered to specific individuals here. Before I could finish speaking, Director Wang, who was already guilty, grew even more panicked seeing how confidently I insisted on taking him for verification. Then, right in front of everyone, he threw that black card on the ground and stomped it into pieces. Yet he still stubbornly retorted, TCH, it's just a card. Not worth all this fuss. I don't even care about it. But anyone present who wasn't a fool could see what he really meant. That card was undoubtedly fake. Even Lin Yu looked at Director Wang with a strange expression. Mr. Wang's face was now so long it could practically touch the ground. Feeling he'd lost all dignity both inside and out today. Seeing Lin Yu, the root cause of his humiliation, actually daring to wear such an expression, he instantly flew into a rage and shoved Lin Yu forward. Look at the mess you've made. You broke someone else's property. Now figure out how to handle it yourself. No sooner had he spoken than he tried to slip away, only to find Lin Yu gripping his arm like a vice. What do you mean? President Wang, didn't you say you'd buy me jewelry? President Wang forcefully shook his sleeve. but when he couldn't break free, he actually kicked her to the ground. Don't drag me into this. This is your own doing. Figure it out yourself. With that, he tried to leave in a hurry. But Lin Yu was no pushover either, clinging desperately to Director Wong's shoe while sprawled on the ground. Terrified of being abandoned, I couldn't help but applaud at the entertaining scene before me. My, what a touching display of affection between you two. The two remained locked in their stalemate, and for a moment, no one even thought to separate them. Everyone just stood there watching the spectacle unfold, until the manager heard the news and rushed over. What's going on here? Oh, young master, why are you standing here? Xiaoli, hurry up and get a chair for the young master. The salesperson immediately complied, leaving Director Wong and Lin Yu dumbfounded. Seeing this, Lin Yu stopped clinging to Director Wong and quickly scrambled up from the floor, walking over to the manager. What did you say? He's the young master. What young master? The manager looked utterly confused. This is the young master of our shopping mall's owner. How could you not know this? Mister. Wong's eyes darted around before his entire expression instantly transformed. Oh, so you're the young master of the Zheng family. I was truly blind not to recognize you earlier. Please forgive my past offenses, as I was also deceived by this woman. I sat in the chair, watching him with amusement, making him sweat profusely under my gaze. Oh, is that so? You were deceived by her. Manager Wong nodded frantically, the fat around his waist jiggling with each movement. Yes, yes, she told me she was single. That's why I got together with her. You're wise, so wise. Hearing this, Lin Yu couldn't take it anymore and rushed at me, only to be stopped by the manager. She kept wailing. Hey Bin, don't listen to his nonsense. He threatened me to be with him, or else he'd ruin you. I did it all for you. Hey Bin, I couldn't be bothered to listen to their dramatic performance and stood up impatiently. I don't care about your drama. I'm just asking, are you going to pay the money or not? Mr. Wong was still somewhat reluctant, but when he looked up and saw my expression, he gritted his teeth and pulled out several cards from his bag, slapping them onto the table. I'll compensate. Please forgive this humble one for his previous mistakes. I smiled, but paid him no attention. What mistakes? He froze, instinctively looking at Lin Yu. I followed his gaze and saw Lin Yu had changed her expression, now gazing at me with tender affection. I smiled faintly. She's your woman. What's that to do with me? Lin Yu was stunned, but Director Wong already understood. The salesperson had already returned after paying with the card, but her expression looked somewhat unpleasant. Young master, there's not enough money. President Wong was shocked and immediately tried to speak, but I raised my hand to stop him. President Wong, we do have some acquaintance after all. I don't want to make things difficult for you. How about this? Give me 10 of your company's shares, and I'll let the matter drop. What do you say? President Wong initially thought he had narrowly escaped consequences and was just beginning to smile in gratitude. But when he heard the word shares, his smile froze completely. His face filled with disbelief as he stared at me. Shares, and 10% at that. I nodded nonchalantly. Yeah. What's the problem? Oh, if you're unwilling, that's fine too. I just wonder what my parents would think if they found out about your actions. Before I could finish, President Wong immediately started bowing and scraping, hastily agreeing. I accept. I nodded at him with satisfaction. All right, you're dismissed. Get going. Then I pointed at Lin Yu, who was standing there dumbfounded. Take your man with you too. Wouldn't want him dirtying up my place and lowering the standards here. Now would we? Boss Wong broke out in a cold sweat and nodded hurriedly. Yes, you're absolutely right. I'll take her away immediately. With that, he hastily pulled Lin Yu out. Lin Yu seemed unwilling to give up, craning her neck to look at me as if she still had something to say. But she was quickly silenced by Boss Wong, who forcibly dragged her out. The manager watched them leave and asked me in confusion, Young master, are you just letting them go like this? I returned to sit on the sofa, sipping my tea with great satisfaction. No need to rush. There's plenty of drama ahead. We just need to wait and watch them tear each other apart. Sure enough, that very night, I ran into a drunken Lin Yu in the bar's hallway. She seemed extremely flustered, and upon seeing it was me, she urgently grabbed my sleeve. Bin, it's you. That's really great. Can you save me? President Wong, he wants to give me to those old men. Please save me. Lin Yu was quite attractive. At that moment, she was wearing a white dress, appearing even more pure and alluring in such a flashy and decadent place, especially with the tears at the corners of her eyes. Anyone who saw her would probably feel an overwhelming urge to protect her, except for me. But I still gently held her and whispered, where are they? Hearing me speak to her so softly, a flicker of delight flashed through Lin Yu's eyes. She pretended to be terrified and pointed ahead. They're in room 408. I nodded and wrapped my arm around her as we walked forward. She seemed terrified, clinging to me and refusing to take another step. Bin, I'm scared. Can you take me away from here? I smiled, leaning close to whisper in her ear, don't be afraid. They hurt you. How could I possibly let them off so easily? Lin Yu was now certain, deeply convinced that I was standing up for her. Yet she still didn't forget to maintain her persona. Bin, Having you is enough for me. Please, just take me away. But the glee overflowing in her eyes completely contradicted her tone. Lost in her joy, Lin Yu failed to notice that I had already seen through her scheme. I straightened up, still pulling her forward as we walked. No way. You're my woman. How could I just stand by and watch you get bullied? This time, Lin Yu didn't insist anymore. With a smile on her lips, she followed me to room 408. But when I opened the door to 408, what came out of my mouth wasn't what Lin Yu had expected to hear. Director Wong, isn't this your woman? How come you didn't even go looking for her when she ran off? With the smile still lingering on her face, Lin Yu was abruptly pushed inside. Seeing this, Manager Wong immediately scurried over like an obsequious lackey. Oh my, young Master Zheng, what brings you here? Care to join us for a drink? I shook my head and replied coldly. No, I have matters to attend to. Enjoy yourselves. After speaking, she pointed at Lin Yu, who stood frozen in place, staring at me in shock. Keep your people in check. Don't let her wander in front of me again. Lin Yu, who had fallen from heaven to hell in an instant, was utterly devastated. Bin, you promised to take me away. I waved my hand, feigning innocence. Who said that? I certainly didn't. Don't you dare accuse me. A woman who'll sleep with anyone like you still dreams of climbing up to my level. Lin Yu's face instantly turned pale upon hearing this. Looking utterly miserable, realizing the implications, President Wong turned to glare at her warningly before bowing and scraping before me. Don't worry, Mr. Zheng. I'll make sure to discipline her properly. I nodded, casting one last glance at those old men in the booth before smiling at Lin Yu and walking out. Behind me, Lin Yu's loud sobs echoed through the air. 7 returning to my VIP suite. I lazily sank into the sofa. The assistant quickly turned on the projection screen as soon as I returned, displaying the live footage from room 408. I saw Lin Yu's face streaked with tears, looking terrified at the man approaching her. President Wong strode up to her and slapped her across the face with such force that she fell to the ground. Still consumed by rage, he viciously kicked Lin Yu twice. The blows so painful she curled up on the floor, clutching her stomach. Worthless. After spending so much money on you and making me offend people, you can't even handle such a small thing. How could I have been so blind to fall for you? Boss Wong cursed bitterly. At that moment, a balding middle-aged man from the booth walked over and pretended to be the good guy by patting Boss Wong's shoulder, advising, Xiao Wong, don't be so rough. What if you hurt this little beauty? Boss Wong fawned at the man with an ingratiating smile. Yes, you're absolutely right, she said while kicking Lin Yu with her foot. Stop pretending to be dead. Get up and serve President Lin his drink. Lin Yu lay on the ground whimpering, the pain in her body making it impossible to get up. President Wong squatted down, grabbed her hair, and forcibly yanked her up. Then he dragged her all the way and threw her onto the sofa. The men were all eyeing the delicate woman with lecherous gazes. Lin Yu was naturally beautiful to begin with, and the pained expression on her face did nothing to diminish her allure. Instead, it only stoked the men's desire to torment her. They placed a large glass of baijiu in front of Lin Yu, coaxing her with honeyed words. Come on, pretty thing. Drink this with us, and we'll tell Wong here to stop hitting you. Lin Yu lifted her face, already drenched in cold sweat, and glanced at Boss Wong beside her. But the man who had once spoken to her so tenderly now glared at her with a sinister expression, his eyes full of warning. Lin Yu resigned herself to fate, lowering her head as she tremblingly picked up the wine glass. Yet the moment she took a sip, she choked and couldn't drink any further, the physical irritation once again forcing tears from her eyes. Someone clicked their tongue in displeasure at the sight. Xiao Wong, is this all the sincerity you've got? If you want us to save your company, you bring someone this clueless to serve us. President Wong turned pale with fright, hastily picking up his wine glass and standing up to toast each person in turn. No. Brothers, don't be angry. Let me drink first as an apology. The young lady doesn't know any better. We'll teach her properly. There's plenty of time after all. President Wong downed his drink in one gulp, then flipped his glass upside down on the table. Then he slowly sauntered over to Lin Yu, who was still coughing, picked up the glass in front of her, pinched her mouth open, and forcibly poured the alcohol down her throat. Lin Yu couldn't help but struggle, but her strength was too feeble to resist, forcing her to gulp down the entire glass against her will. The liquor that spilled from the corner of her lips dripped onto her white dress, appearing particularly alluring under the dazzling lights. I could clearly see the change in those men's eyes. They looked at Lin Yu with such hunger, as if they wanted to devour her whole. What would happen next went without saying. I turned off the projector and called my assistant in. Go to room 408 and bring that Director Wong here. Director Wong arrived quickly, scurrying over to me like an obedient dog the moment he entered. Young Master Zheng, what matter brings you to summon me? I ignored him and took out a photo, throwing it onto the table. Take a look for yourself. Do you recognize the people in this picture? Boss Wong was confused, but followed my gaze, then widened his eyes in horror. Xiao Yu, what are you trying to do? I leaned back on the sofa, looking at him with a mocking gaze. and said coldly, I never expected Director Wong to be such a doting father. The cost of studying abroad must be quite expensive. No, beads of cold sweat trickled down Director Wong's temples, his legs trembling uncontrollably. Young Master Zheng, everything in the past was my fault. I was blind and couldn't recognize true greatness. Do whatever you want with me. I only beg you to spare my daughter. I smiled faintly, poured him a cup of tea, and gestured for him to drink. Have a seat first. Have some tea and take your time. Don't be afraid. I'm not interested in this girl. President Wong shakily picked up the teacup and took a small sip before he couldn't hold back anymore. Young Master Zheng, whatever you want, just name it. I sighed and waved my hand at him dismissively. Look at how you're talking. How could it be about what I want? I'm thinking of your benefit. If your precious daughter returns from studying abroad to find she's gained such a stepmother, do you think your family could ever have peaceful days again? Director Wong rolled his eyes shrewdly, understanding my implication, then raised his hand to swear to me. Rest assured, I swear Lin will never appear before Xiaoyu again, and of course she won't appear before you either. I nodded in satisfaction, seeing that he had guessed my thoughts correctly. President Wong let out a sigh of relief, but then he suddenly thought of something and couldn't help asking, Young Master Zheng, about my company, what do you think? I took a light sip of tea and looked at him through the rising steam, my tone dripping with disdain. Don't worry, your little rundown company isn't even worth my effort. Only then did President Wong completely relax, thanking me profusely. But how could he know? It's true I look down on his pathetic company, but more importantly, dealing with people like them isn't worth dirtying my hands. Right after the 408 incident, I sent my assistant to handle it. At the time, Director Wong was still enjoying tea with me, while those men didn't even glance at Lin Yu. They just zipped up and left, leaving Lin Yu alone, lying stiffly on the ground. The assistant tossed several document folders beside her and left a remark. These contain evidence of President Wong's illegal activities. Whether to use them, and how to use them, is entirely up to you. Not long after, the assistant sent me a message. It said someone had anonymously reported President Wong, and when the authorities investigated, they found the allegations to be true. As a result, President Wong's company went bankrupt, and he himself ended up behind bars. Not a single one of his so-called business partners managed to escape either. As for Lin Yu, she was tormented by those people until she ended up in the hospital. After CEO Wong was imprisoned, she thought she had escaped unscathed. Little did she know that Wong's daughter would get wind of the truth. That was Lin Yu who had ruined her father, turning her from a wealthy heiress into a penniless debtor forced to repay her father's debts. In a fit of rage, the daughter stormed into the hospital and stabbed Lin Yu.
The knife hadn't actually struck a vital point. Xiaoyu had only intended to vent her anger.
But she didn't know that Lin Yu had already been tortured to the brink by her father. That single stab turned out to be the fatal blow that ended Lin Yu's life. So Chairman Wong was reunited with his daughter after all, only it happened behind prison bars. If this isn't karma, then what is? With this news came a sentence Lin Yu had told her assistant at the time. She said she regrets it. I stood up and looked down at the city from the rooftop, idly playing with the car keys I never got to give her, smiling faintly. Too bad. There are no second chances in this world. Just one step away, Lin Yu could have stood here hand in hand with me. But as they say, there's no such thing as a cure for regret in this world. A mistake is a mistake, and it must be paid for. The end.